reports that hostages have been taken in a cafe in a central business district there in Sydney. Andrew Thomas is there in Sydney for us. Andrew, any more details about what's going on?
I'm afraid there are very few details. This situation began to unfold about 90 minutes ago now, when there were reports of a hostage situation at a cafe in Sydney's main CBD Central Square Martin Place. We've been told just in the last few minutes that the Prime Minister has convened his National Security Committee. They are now looking to see more assistance they can give to the police in the state of New South Wales, where Sydney is. But actually, in terms of events on the ground, very little extra information that I can add at this stage. The situation is ongoing. There is certainly a major siege going on. All the reports now say that 13 hostages are being held in this cafe in Martin Place. Police with guns are swarming that area. The entire area is in lockdown. Transport through the square and to the square has been cancelled. We're also hearing that as a precaution, Sydney's Opera House has been evacuated. No information that anything is actually happening there in terms of any threat. But as a precaution, Sydney's Opera House has been evacuated, as have all the buildings in the immediate vicinity of this cafe in Martin Place. But very fast-moving in a sense, but otherwise very slow-moving in the sense that we don't have any extra information. Certainly, as far as we know, no hostages have been released, but nor have there been any sort of signs that any have been harmed as yet.
Yeah, Andrew, Australian media are reporting that 13 hostages are being held by at least one armed man at this Lind Cafe. But like you said, the details so sketchy, so nothing can be confirmed at this point.
That's exactly right. All the media outlets seem to be agreeing on that number, 13 people held. There have certainly been television shots of what appear to be hostages with their hands in the air right up against the windows. They haven't been in the windows for some time now. This was probably going back a little over an hour that they had their hands up in the windows. At one stage as well, what appeared to be a black flag or a black sheet was held in the window. There was some early speculation that that might be the ISIS flag. Apparently not, although it did have some Arabic writing on it. That sheet and the Arabic writing is said to have said, "There is no God but Allah." But whether this is an event associated with the situation in the Middle East, with ISIS, with IS, is unclear at this stage. It is mere speculation. I should say, though, that a couple of months ago, there was an alleged plot uncovered by the police in Australia that led to some pretty swift-acting so-called terror raids here in Australia. And one of the plots was alleged to have been to seize somebody in Martin Place, in this very square we're talking about now, and behead them in full view of the public. Now, whether that was just speculation, that never came officially from the police. This was always reports in tabloid newspapers of what police were alleged to have said to them. Whether that was a genuine plot or not is very unclear. But, of course, in the context of what is going on right now in that very square, Martin Place, it does, of course, take on a much more sinister tone.
Yeah, it certainly does. Andrew, you were telling us earlier that the New South Wales authorities had actually mounted a number of raids ahead of this hostage situation just this morning, right?
That's right. Well, we were told that there was a raid in the western part of Sydney, about 25 kilometres away from where this incident is unfolding now, that happened first thing Monday morning Australian time, and we're hearing that one arrest was made in that raid. But what we don't know is whether or not that incident had anything to do at all with what is going on now in Martin Place. It may be totally unconnected. There was actually supposed to be a police press conference about that arrest right now. Of course, that's now been cancelled with this much bigger incident going on in Martin Place. And that arrest would have been the latest in a series of arrests, mostly in the west of Sydney, in the last 3 or 4 months. All apparently in some way associated with people plotting terror-style, I use that phrase very guardedly, but terror-style attacks on Australian soil. Most of those arrests didn't actually come to very much. Most of those arrested ended up being released without charge. Only 1 or 2 remain held. But the kind of mood music, if you like, the increase in the talk from the police about something going on, some kind of attack likely on Australian soil. That, again, is all the backdrop to this latest incident.
Okay, Andrew, thank you very much for now. Andrew Thomas there on the line for us from Sydney.